Background music. I think that's a good fit. Meditation background music. Background. Okay. I might go ahead and turn that up. Welcome. Happy Holy Day. This is World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America. We are a globally chartered and incorporated temple of the Moorish Temple of America. And we are teaching our people their nationality, their divine creed, so that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government. Know that they are not Negroes, black people, or Ethiopians, because those names were given to slaveholders. Those names were given to slaves by slaveholders. And therefore, we're teaching our people to learn their divine creed and link themselves back in nations. That's it, y'all. I'm gonna test this link out real quick. That very much is so we do have the website link at the top of the room, and we could get started today. So let's open it up with our divine supplication as we do every week. And let's have us a good, happy holiday. So first things first, I want to give honors to the divine creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to give honors to the prophet, Lawiy. I want to give honors to the prophet's forerunner, Honorable Barnabas. I want to give honors to the leaders that came after the prophet, such as Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to give honors to Noble C.M. Bey. I want to give honors to Brother H.I.M from the Moorish paradigm as well. And I want to give honors to all those that will be here in attendance with us tonight. I want to give honors to all of the members of the World Temple, Moorish Temple of America, branch temple number 24 of Houston, Texas. We are a global branch. And like I said earlier, we are here to teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. So with that, let's jump right into the divine supplication, where we begin all things first by using the all. And this is our prayer of the Ansars. O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is sustainer of all the worlds, we do accept the duty you have lain on us to clean up the filth made by the West and its non-Semitic fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us to control the strings of the courses of our lives. Our sustainer, and if we do wrong, please show thy divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can raise us, true fathers, from blues bearers, and in thy name we carry on. True peace. So if you're coming in, please just be patient as I read through these divine messages that we open up the temple with during our parliamentary opening, and make sure that we conduct temple service properly and we open in a proper fashion. So with that, we're going to go to our family guide and with our 19th daily affirmation that you should be reading together with your family daily, not just here every Friday on holy day, every day with you and your loved ones. With that, what we accept this fact as the daily affirmation of loyalty of the children of Elohim. We accept this fact the eternal laws of nature as revealed through science, past events, logic, and common sense. Feel this right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We accept this fact the highest laws of nature is the cooperation and harmony treason is the worst of all crimes. We accept this fact that what is good for the Holy Tabernacle is the highest virtue, and what is bad for the Holy Tabernacle is the ultimate evil. We accept this fact that the Holy Tabernacle is the finest and noblest organization for all humanity created by circumstances, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek is the noblest of fraternities on and above this planet. We accept this fact that creativity, love, and cooperation are the essence of success. We accept this fact that truth and facts are always and has always been the originator and creator of all success. We accept this fact that all worthwhile cultures and civilizations came about from the ancient Sumerians and Camite Egyptians and the Anunnaki or Elohims from the heavens without which there will be none. We accept this fact that for the Holy Tabernacle to survive, expand, and advance, we need, first of all, a revolution of values and thoughts, which must start within each person by being truthful with themselves and about themselves. Therefore, we completely and categorically reject all myths, fictions, religions, lies, and lies that have not been proven. That would include your heavens, your hells, your hellfire and brimstones, your horny pitchfork devils, your winged angels, and your old man God character sitting on a throne up there somewhere. We deal strictly with facts. If you can't prove it, we don't want to hear it. That doesn't mean we won't listen to you. Just don't expect us to accept your beliefs by virtue of a title such as Reverend, Pastor, Deacon, Imam, Sheik, Rabbi, Minister, Theologian, etc. That is your sensationalism, and we deal with just the facts. We accept this fact that the only true revolution is a war of good against evil, right against wrong, fairness against unfairness, loyalty against disloyalty, sincerity against insincerity, honesty against dishonesty, and this war is fought within each person among the agreeable and disagreeable Elohims that make up your willpower. We accept this fact that the unity of our community and its success will only happen with cooperation with all involved. We accept this fact, the total unification of all humanity on the basis of truth, that is, accepting people and races for who and what they are, respecting their culture, their languages, and their beliefs, and expect the same. We accept this fact that the human race, its biological and cultural heritage, is now under attack by our own rules, our self-righteousness, our desire to control industry, and these things attack the very existence of humanity. We accept this fact that males as well as females are equal in all things and should be dealt with as partners in all matters. We accept this fact that no one race of people is better than another. In fact, no one wins the race and race. We accept this fact that communication between different people is the cure to the ignorance that breeds the disease hate. We accept this fact that a good and well-rounded education could prevent most of the ignorance that plagues the world. We accept the fact that the all is just that. The all. You can't take from the all. You can't add to the all. We are all within the all. That's one. That is our concept of what you call the deity. To the fulfillment of these facts, we choose to be Elohim forever pledge our lives with no sacred honor and spiritual freedom. So true peace, true peace, true peace. Like I said, if you're joining in today, please be sure to leave a message in the chat today or anytime you visit the room and you see please be sure to leave a message in the chat. That way I can bring you up when there is a break in the reading. So therefore, we can bring each and every person up on stage that would like to be on stage or that just wants to receive knowledge. So with that, let's jump into our divine constitutional bylaws along with our prayer. With that, y'all know how it goes. It's everything, y'all. So 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, facing the east, feet at a 45 degree angle. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through His holy prophet, Omniversal Church. Amen. With that, let's jump into the divine constitutional bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life of God. Act 5. The organization of the Moorish Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes colored from black people in Ethiopia, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend the meetings and become a part and parcel of all of the different acts of the Moorish Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Omniverse, through the guidance of his Lord and God. Alright, so we're going to jump right into our weekly reading. And every week we open chapter 25 of the circumcision of the Qur'aan, called the covenant of the Asiatic nations. And we're going to jump right into that now. So you could get a copy of the Moorish Temple of America, circumcision of the Qur'aan, by clicking that link that's pinned at the top of the room, which is our website. Our website is back up. We're still working on some kinks to the site, but the site nonetheless is back up for you to observe. We got to get our world library together, so that way everyone that comes in could actually make purchases from everything to our family, our weekly family estate and planning, and we can jump right back into that because now we have the website back up, but we have to actually get the library together. So before we officially get back to our weekly reading sessions every Saturday, we will be making sure that the website is tight knit. Therefore, it is open for everyone to come in and participate in the reading. So let's jump right into it. Chapter 25, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation, and it reads, Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother had given you supper. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own brother. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continuous in all in your love to each other. True peace. So I'm not really sure what the feedback is on the meditation in the background, but Clubhouse is letting us play the meditation in the background. Actually fits us perfectly. Chapter 25, the covenant of the Asiatic, the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, which explains how the original Asiatic people are considered the children of the sacred East, let's jump further into it. Let's go straight to chapter 47 called Egypt, the capital empire of the dominion of Africa. And it reads, the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexa, the first true and divine name of Africa. The dividing of the land between the father and the son, the dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest, was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and all the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, who sovereign from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile, westward across the Great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were, and all of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who was able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Lawiy, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Sons Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by all the members of the temples of the Moorish Sons Temple of America, that they will learn to open them and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the grand major temple is performed under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the holy prophet and the grand temple. The prophet Omniversal was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and awful day that should have come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own violent victory, and every tongue must confess its own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America, who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, whom they knew not. So that is chapter 47 of it leads us to our focus tonight, which we'll get into after we dive into chapter 48, which is called the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. So tonight we're going to be discussing how Juneteenth made an impact on indigenous peoples, and the fact that it is now a holiday, and we're going to go into what that means and how that affects us as indigenous people, and is there any benefits to the holiday becoming a actual holiday about the freedom of indigenous people. So we're going to dive into that after we read chapter 47. So let's dive right in, and it reads, the last prophet in these days is Noble Joe Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. And his name is Noble Joe Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion. and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God alone. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of man, under love, true peace, freedom, and justice. We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes, but of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We're trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. So welcome. We are officially spirit and operation in this new season that we are in. And I want to touch on that, just a bit about the year being a year of the number 7, which is considered a Jubilee year, as well as the fact that January comes from the ancient god Janus and the ancient Greek god Janus. And I want to dive in a little bit into that before we really get into the meat and potatoes for our meeting and temple service tonight. So let's dive into this. I'm going to leave a link in the chat about Janus as well, so that way everyone could know who this is coming from. This month is coming from. I think we should get into that a little bit more. About to jump into it. So this is in ancient Roman religion admitted Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He is usually depicted as having two faces, which one faces forward and one facing backwards. It says he is usually depicted as having two faces. The month of January is named for Janus. According to all beginnings, gates, transitions, time, melody, doorways, passages, memory. That's how they describe Janus. And he says he has no parents other than the variant of Terra and Salus, and his siblings are Canis, Saturn, and Ops. His consort is Vanilla and or Juturna. Also, his children are Canis, Apex, Augustine, Tiberius, and also Fontus. And his Etruscan equivalent is Cassans, who's known as two inscriptions and a variety of iconographical material, which includes coins, statues, and a sarcophagus. It says Cassans is usually rendered as a male deity with two faces. So similar to the Gemini statue, right? Or the Gemini symbol. And at least two statues depicting him have been found in close association with city gates. These characteristics suggest that he was a protector of gateways who could zealously watch over the gate with not one, but two pair of eyes. It says many scholars recognize the deity Janus as a Roman equivalent to Cassans because he is also rendered as Buffron's two-faced god in his divine realm, also includes the protection of doorways and gates. Building on this ideal, some scholars have proposed that the name Cassans may contain an etymological root meaning door in Etruscan, just as Janus' name comes from the Latin word for door, Anua. An Etruscan female deity named Casu, whose name has the same etymological root as Cassans, is also associated with gateways, though in her case they are gateways of the netherworld. So that's just giving some deeper insight, and also so understand that we have been basing our time off what is considered Roman calendar structure. So let's get into holiday. How it is now a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans, deriving its name from combining June and 19th. It is celebrated on the anniversary of General Order No. 3, which was issued by Major General Bourdon Granger on June 19, 1865, proclaiming freedom for slaves in Texas, which originated in Galveston. Juneteenth has since been observed annually in various parts of the United States, often broadly celebrating African American culture. The day was first recognized as a federal holiday in 2021 when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law after the efforts of Lawiy, Opal Lee, and others. So this is now a federal holiday that is related to National Independence Day for African Americans. So it says Juneteenth, for decades, activists and members, led by many African Americans, proposed legislation, advocated for and built support for state and national observances. During Biden's campaign, publicly celebrated the holiday. Donald Trump, during his campaign for re-election, added making the day a national holiday part of his platinum plan for Black America. And I want to touch on that too a bit. It says, spurred on by the advocates in the Congressional Black Caucus on June 15, 2021, the Senate unanimously passed the Juneteenth National subsequently passed through the House of Representatives by a 415 to 14 vote on June 16th. So let's dive in some more. It says on June 17, 2021, making Juneteenth the 11th American federal holiday and the first to obtain legal observance as a federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which was designated in 1983. And according to the bill, federal government employees will now take the day off every year on June 19th, or should the day fall on a Saturday or Sunday, they will get the Friday or Monday closest to the Saturday or Sunday on which the day falls. So, this is something that we should look at and look into, because it goes back to the emancipation, saying that emancipation was issued by Major General Gordon Granger, who was a U.S. Army officer and a Union general during the American Civil War. So, how does what he did tie into Abraham Lincoln? Because this is what the discussion I was looking to have here today. It says Granger is best remembered for his part in the Battle of Chickamauga, the Battle of Chattanooga, and for issuing General Order No. 3 on June 19, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, furthering informing residents of and enforcing Abraham Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation to set all Confederate states slaves free on January 1st, 1863. June 19th is now commemorated by the federal holiday of Juneteenth. So this does tie into the announcement of Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation. So now we have to acknowledge the fact that there was an actual general order given by the president, Abraham Lincoln. And so when Noble Drew Ali came in and done the official emancipation through the sovereign theocratic government structure that we do have here in the country, as we read the public acknowledgement and the strength of that public acknowledgement, the recognition of that public acknowledgement, but it does have a standing behind it. And we, as Moorish American people, have to realize the power of us having a sovereign theocratic government, or a sovereign religious government. So, let's dive into some of the words and prophecies that align with this, because the prophet said the Moors after the year 2000 will come into their own. These are one of the things that the prophet mentioned about us and what the prophet established for us. The prophet said, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Take it and save yourselves. When he said that, the prophet was holding up the Holy Qur'aan of the Moorish Science Temple of America and a questionnaire to show us the books we need to save ourselves. So that's the temple questions 101 that we read every Sunday when we come together, and also the Holy Qur'an, Surah 7, that we read every opening for chapter 25, chapter 47, chapter 48, as well as going over the holy structure here in the temple. You say you can barely hear me? Let me try to
I
cut
can
the
I can hear you
background.
better now. I can hear you better now, but the music was louder than you were.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, but it's clear now.
Okay. I hope it didn't muffle me out the whole way through. But because I done the reading and everything. But
You were just pretty low. That's all. If they turn the volume up, they'll hear you. The music is just louder, so I
okay,
think it'll be all right.
okay. Do the meditation sound good in the background?
Yeah,
Trying to.
it's got a little reverb when you speak. It kind of makes you sound like you're echoing, or like maybe you're in a hall or something. It kind of sound cool, but we can just barely hear you. That's all. But
Okay.
I can hear
Well,
the meditation music loud and clear. It's good. It's coming through pretty good.
yeah, I see. That's a new feature they added. Does it still come through when I mute out, or is it just me when I come off the mic?
You would have to mute yourself so I can see.
Okay, I'm on mute now. I'm going on mute now.
Yeah, you can still hear the music when you're on mute, but it doesn't show me that your microphone is muted. It just looks like you're still on the mic.
Got you. Okay. So I just want to test it out. All right. So peace, brother Jay. Peace, brother Jay. Uh, came in and stopped through. But as we've been going over the. Of course, we did our opening, but we just went over the Juneteenth holiday and how it's actually representative of a national independence day for African Americans and what we would consider us as, as indigenous people. So I want to touch on this today because over the past couple of weeks we read into the Dred Scott decision. We went over a lot of things concerning the treaties, and we mentioned how we will be going into reading the Treaty of Grenada and also reading the Sundry Free More Act. So I went into detail about the Juneteenth. Well, first I opened up with talking about January and the Roman gods that are symbolic of these months and how we should talk on later date about the days of the week and things like that, and really just get into breaking those down as we go through the teaching. So jumping back to the Juneteenth, and as we read earlier, Juneteenth is June, which is symbolic of the deity, the Roman deity Juno, and we can go more into that at a later date too as well. But just want to acknowledge that so we understand that the calendar structure behind the way we live our lives according to the times that we have now, or what we have set as time from January, February, month to month, week to week, and day to day. So with getting the message out there about Juneteenth and how it coincides with the Emancipation Proclamation with Abraham Lincoln, and how we have been going into the portion that concerns us as a people and our manumission. Because now that it is a holiday, some people would look at that as the same oppressive regime is the same people that will only be the ones capitalizing off the holiday. And I posed the question before going into the topic was, is there any benefit to us as a people and Juneteenth? Is there any benefit from Juneteenth being now a national federal holiday? And from from what Spirit is really stirring me up to touch on is the fact that we have the holiday. Yes, it will be capitalized off in forms and ways of commerce, but who's to say that we can't capitalize off of the holiday in forms and ways of commerce ourselves, including the fact that the the day being acknowledged as a federal holiday and people get off on that day, that's going to further spread the information about the manumission of African American people as indigenous people. This is why I say us as Moorish Americans, we want to get to the point to where we understand what is being put in place right in front of us, things that are taking place right in front of us, the opportunities that are being put in place for us, especially with us, as I said and mentioned just a bit earlier here, that we have our own sovereign theocratic government. We are being acknowledged as a sovereign and theocratic body of people. True peace, Brother John. So, true peace, true peace. All's well?
Yeah, things are good. Looking up.
How is the meditation music sounding on your end? It's coming through okay?
It's sounding a lot clearer than it has in the past, yeah.
All right, then that let me know we doing some good things. Clubhouse, thank you for that. Clubhouse came through with that feature. They upgrade things. They also got some other sound features that I won't be utilizing here because we are a temple, so we won't be utilizing radio type of sound effects, but we do have things.
Great.
We do have things like that we can use, right? But okay, diving into the message here again, we do have the opportunity to spread the information far and wide about the sovereign theocratic government structure or the sovereign religious government structure that is here for us as a people. And so, like we've mentioned before, with Juneteenth now being a African American, or you can say a Moorish holiday at this point, it is now an opportunity for us to teach our people that they are considered true Americans as American royals who are behind the signatory of the Constitution, as well as what we have read in the Dred Scott decision. What we have read in the Dred Scott decision. Free Moors, free men are the entitlement holders of the land. This is why there is a public acknowledgement of a sovereign theocratic government structure. You have the complete sovereignty as true American, as American royalty. Acknowledgement of your indigenous American heritage. So as we mentioned before, if we are royals, we must conduct ourselves as such, treat ourselves as such, and establish ourselves as so. Yes, we want to acknowledge the kidnapped, bondage, and the slavery, however you want to call it or look at it. But there's also more information that we got to look into, more history that we got to look into now. The fact that we have Juneteenth. And as we read, the prophet said, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Take it and save yourself. When he said that, the prophet was holding up a holy Qur'an of the Moorish Temple of America and a questionnaire to show us the book we need to save ourselves. The prophet said, children, you are at home, and the European is 3,000 miles from home, and he's going to have to take some water. So understand what is being publicly acknowledged. National Independence Day. You have your independence. It's been federally acknowledged. You have your acknowledgement as the Moorish people, which has been publicly acknowledged even by President Obama, as well as state to state by different states throughout the United States, especially in Chicago, where the Moorish Temple of America was erected. That we are a sovereign theocratic government. So therefore, when you have a chartered and incorporated temple throughout the United States, from state to state, etc., then you are operating through that sovereign standing. So I wanted to dive into that today, as well as align it with some of the messages from the prophet, some of the prophetful sayings from the prophet. So we're gonna be getting into some of these things and just kind of reading it out together, because as you read together, you see together. So that's, I put the links in the chat about the Janus for the holidays, as well as the links for Juneteenth, so that way you can do some reading up, and then you have a place to bring people back to really listen to the perspective that goes into Juneteenth and the messages that come from the prophet, and how every year June 19th will be the acknowledgement of another African American holiday, which include Martin Luther King Day. But at this day and time, what's being acknowledged is the national independence of the African American peoples, and their independence, not just from slavery, but as a part of the independence of America, and understanding even further that if we dive into treaties like we're about to, that we are royal people. The prophet, like we just read, said that you are home. This is your home. The prophet also mentioned that one day every wheel of industry is going to stop, and when they start up again, it will be in the Asiatic's favor. And we witnessed that with the year 2020. The prophet, like I mentioned earlier, said in the year 2000, the Moors will come into their own. What is going on after the year 2000? We had the public acknowledgement, other things that came through. So please understand that power is in your hands. The prophet said, save yourself. So you have to stand on your merit. This is a meritocracy type
of nation, or a meritist type nation. I wouldn't say meritocracy, because you got democracy and other forms of government structure that that really creates the nerve wreck for this nation. So, understand, like I said, that you are the true royalty and native activity, which a lot of us should understand already. But we have to move as a nation at this point. We have to understand that there needs to be a unified front at this point. All temples is one temple, one prophet. It's not who is in charge of the Moorish Temple of America? Well, who has the authority? Every branch of the movement has their own authority, and as a chartered branch temple, they come together to do what they come together to do. And in that particular branch of the Moorish Temple of America, if they are administering license plates or etc, whatever it may be, that is what they are doing, and what is their particular niche in the divine, international and divine movement. But we want to acknowledge that the Moorish Temple of America is one temple, one prophet. So that includes all temples, all branches of the movement. But we have to give the foundation its respect as it due, because it doesn't say a Mexican Empire or any of these other names and titles that we give to the Moors or any other nations, things that our people try to create in extension. It is the sovereign theocratic nation of the Moorish side of America. So it is the temple that is a sovereign theocratic government structure. The prophets say one day the European is going to let you down. You're going to have to put up a 90-day supply of food to last you until your brothers come to your rescue from the east. So a lot of this is what is being talked about now with Bill Gates' situation and buying up all of the farmland. We're witnessing these things happen right before our eyes. We're witnessing the prophecies of the prophet come to life right before our eyes. The prophet said the Moors were once seafaring people and fed the world. The time is going to come when we go back and feed the world again. So the signal is being given. Your national independence. You have your sovereign theocratic government, which means you are an independent government body structure. You have multiple parts of the divine and national movement. At this point, it's a divine and global movement. We are a global branch temple. All temples to technically operate branch globally, but some technically only cater to their local jurisdiction. But we are a global branch temple, specifically for us to operate virtually and communicate with our people throughout the internet. So whether any other temple does their temple meetings online or whatever whatever the case may be, we are here to extend the olive branch, the olive branch to all our peoples that are here, especially those that are online making money and doing commerce online, and they surfing the web majority of the day. This is a space for you to come, relax, come and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Meditate. We got the meditation back. I'm glad. Relax and hear and connect with the divine family, because we're not just here to stay stuck, like I said, as religious fanatics last holy day, but actually reach out, especially to those spiritual adept ministers and guiders of the nation, those spiritual guides. because as it's being called and signaled for through the actions of today in today's time, the work that must be done, especially concerning us as a people. And when you get to nationhood, you are beyond thinking in the form of tribalism. We have to look beyond tribalism. The prophet said Moors try to live close together. It said Moors should have their own cities and townships. This is what the prophet was saying. The prophet said, we, the Moors, have the blood of every nation flowing through our veins, thereby bringing about a cross spirit. Every nation on this planet descends from the Moors, and so they have our blood in varying degrees and mutations. But we have the blood of every nation coursing through our veins, for we are the progenitors and have crossed mixed with every nation of the earth. So understand, you have your sovereign theocratic structure. This is why we honor all true and divine prophets. This is why we honor all true and divine prophets. This is why when they say African American, we know that they're talking about Moorish American. We understand they're talking about Moorish American, the descendants of Africa here in this country. The Twa people came across what they call the demarcation line, and ancient Amexem walking, because the continental drift wasn't so spread apart as it is today. At the time, it was easier to walk from to and fro, back and forth from Africa to here. And we understand them as the Twa people, or Ta, the people of Ta, the people of Earth, the people of the Earth. They had a universal global name. Some cultures called it Urdu, some cultures called it Tiamat, etc. Still symbolic of the Earth people. We are those Earth people. So please acknowledge what is taking place, with the Juneteenth thing and the benefits that we have. Like I said, the opportunities that we have. And with that, I want to also jump into start reading the Treaty of Grenada, and like I said, the treaty, not the treaty, but the Sun-Dry-Free Moor Act. We want to actually read that Sun-Dry-Free Moor Act of 1790. And this came after, this came before 1860, before 1863. So I'm putting that in the link. Happy Holy Day, Brother Mo. True peace, true peace. Happy Holy Day. Oh, I'm putting the link in the chat for the Sun-Dry-Free Moors Act. I want to check that out. We're going to reread it again. We're going to go over again of what it's about, so we can get a clear understanding of that. And we're going to actually read the act. We're going to actually read the act. We're going to also read the Treaty of Grenada. But I want y'all to get a clear distinction of this act. This is a Wikipedia link that's verifying this, that the Moor Sun-Dry Act of 1790 was a 1790 advisory resolution passed by South Carolina House of Representatives, clarifying the status of free subjects of the Sultan of Morocco, Mohammed bin Abdullah. The resolution offered the opinion that free citizens of Morocco were not subject to the laws governing black enslaved. It says on June 20th, 1790, a petition was presented to the South Carolina House of Representatives from a group of 4 individuals who were subjects of the Moroccan emperor and residents of the state. They desired that if they happen to commit any fault amendable to be brought to justice, that as subjects to a prince allied with the United States through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, they would be treated as citizens instead of under the Negro Act of 1740. It says, the free Moors, Francis, Daniel, Hamad, and Samuel, petitioned on behalf of themselves and their wives, Fatima, Flora, Sara, and Clarinda. They explained how some years ago, while fighting in defense of their country, they and their wives were captured and made prisoners of war by an African king. After this, a certain Captain Clark had them delivered to him, promising they would be redeemed by the Moroccan ambassador residing in England and returned to their country. Instead, he transported them to South Carolina and sold them for slaves. Since then, by the greatest industry, they purchased freedom from their respective masters. They requested that as free-born subjects of a prince in alliance with the United States, that they should not be considered subjects to a state law then enforced, known as the Negro Law. If they be found guilty of any crime or misdemeanor, they would receive a fair trial by a lawful jury. The matter was referred to a committee consisting of Justice John Bacharach Grimke, General Charles Colesworth Penicky, and Edward Rutledge. So I think they kind of changed it up a little bit here. Yeah, because I'm glad I took screenshots that changed up, because the Sun-Dry Freemore Act tied into Isabella and the Queen. So put that link in there. We're gonna go over that, but I'm gonna read over the Treaty of Grenada first. Before we move forward. I'm gonna read that first. It says the Treaty of Grenada, also known as the Capitulation of Grenada or simply the Capitulations, was signed and ratified on November 25th, 1491 between Boabdil, the Sultan of Grenada, and Ferdinand and Isabella, and the King and Queen of Castile, Leon, Aragon, Sicily. It said it ended the Grenada War, which started in 1482 and culminated in the siege and Battle of Grenada, which began in spring 1491. So the Sun-Dry Freemore Act ties into that, but it says the treaty provided a short truce, followed by the relinquishment in January 1492 of the sovereignty of the Muslim Emirate of Grenada, founded in the 13th century, to Catholic Spain. The treaty guaranteed a set of rights to the Moors, Muslim inhabitants, including religious tolerance and fair treatment in return for their surrender and capitulation. The capitulations granted native Jews in the surrendered territories the choice of either converting to Christianity or migrating to North Africa within 3 years. That was subsequently succeeded by the Alhambra Decree of 1492, which forced all Jews in Spain to choose between conversion or expulsion. It said the capitulation of 1492 contained 67 articles, among which were the following. So they put some of the articles. We can read some of these. Thank you a minute. It says one of the articles is that both great and small should be perfectly secure in their persons, families, and properties. Sound like some laws from America, right? That they should be allowed to continue in their dwellings and residences, whether in the city, the suburbs, or any other part of the country. That their laws should be preserved as they were before, and that none should judge them except by those same law, that their mosques and the religious endowments appertaining to them should remain as they were in the times of Islam, that no Christian should enter the house of a Muslim or insult him in any way, that no Christian or Jew holding public offices by the appointment of the late Sultan should be allowed to exercise his functions or rule over them, that all Muslim captives taken during the siege of Granada from whatever part of the country they might have come, but especially the nobles and chiefs mentioned in the agreement, should be liberated, that such Muslim captives as might have escaped from their Christian master and taken refuge in Granada should not be surrendered. The Sultan should be bound to pay the price of such captives to their owner, that all those who might choose to cross over to Africa should be allowed to take their departure within a certain time and be conveyed thither in the king's ship and without any pecuniary tax being imposed on them beyond the mere charge for passage. And that after the expiration of that time, no Muslim should be hindered from departing, provided he paid, in addition to the price of his passage, the tithe of whatever property he might carry along with him. No one should be persecuted and punished for the crime of another man. The Christians who embraced Islam should not be compelled to relinquish it and adopt their former creed. Any Muslim wishing to become a Christian should be allowed some days to consider the steps he was about to take, after which he was to be questioned by both a Muslim and a Christian judge concerning his intended change, and if after that examination he still refused to return to Islam, he should be permitted to follow his own inclination. No Muslim should be persecuted for the death of a Christian slain during the siege, and that no restitution of property taken during the war should be enforced. No Muslim should be subject to have Christian soldiers belayed upon him or be transported to provinces of this kingdom against his will. No increase should be made to the usual impost, but that on the contrary, all oppressive taxes lately imposed should be immediately suppressed. No Christian should be allowed to peep over the wall or into the house of a Muslim or enter a mosque. Any Muslim choosing to travel, reside among the Christians should be perfectly secure in his persons and property. No badge or distinctive mark be put upon them, as was done with the Jews and the Moorish. No muezzin should be interrupted in the act of calling the people to prayer, and no Muslim molested either in the performance of his daily devotions or in the observance of his fast or in any other religious ceremony. If a Christian should be found laughing at them, he should be punished for it. The Muslim should be exempt from all taxation for a certain number of years. The Lord of Rome, the Pope, should be requested to give his assent to the above conditions and sign the treaty himself. This request by the Moorish side was not carried out. So the Pope didn't sign it because that goes into what ended up happening not even 100 years later with the Papal Bull in Terra, which we want to follow the timeline of with these things happen. But the link of the temple website is now available, so you guys click on it at the top of the room and actually go and read bulletin number 6 in the bulletin, the temple bulletin, and understand that with us being a sovereign theocratic government, we now have the right to make official globally our theocratic decree. So if we take it back to the divine constitution and bylaws, right, Act 1, where it states, the Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So the chairman and the grand sheik, the chairman, the royal chairman of this temple, has the authority to make law. So since I'm the main one hosting, until we get us a royal chairman here on the royal council, because that is the power that the royal chairman has, a part of the royal council, is to come here every week and make law. So we have the right and authority, if you click the link that's pinned up at the top of the room, to make law. And we are a global branch temple. So we have the right to make laws that all Moors from across the world can adapt. So understand the power that we have as Grand Sheik, especially if, as it says, it's in accordance with the prophet and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America, which I just explained. All temples are one temple, one prophet. So if you have the protocols being put in place by multiple temples, we start to create free national standards. Free national standards is why I brought up mainly the Juneteenth, because if National Independence Day is being acknowledged by the American government and we are to obey the laws of the government, understand that it's being acknowledged as a federal holiday, that our independence as sovereign, theocratic Moors, we are being acknowledged not under the Negro Act. We are being acknowledged, because we're going to put that in the chat too. We're going to go back and put that, definitely put that in the chat. We are being acknowledged that that Negro Act is being replaced, because now your sovereign standing, it ties into the through the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and this is being acknowledged. So let's talk about this Negro Act here for a second. Put a link to the Negro Act chat. Well, we're really gonna dive into, dissecting the Treaty of Grenada, and like I said, the Sun-Dry Free More Act, because that was coming out of Carolina. And where do we know the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to be from? So trying to keep me posting the lead. Why am I doing it? I guess when I use the word Negro on Clubhouse, I got it flagged, because I know I went through that before, trying to share some words that had the word Negro in it. So I'm gonna try to send it to one of y'all if y'all can post it in the chat, because it's not letting me do it. I'm gonna send it to the back channel. Y'all, one of y'all don't mind putting it in the chat for me. It's not letting me do it directly. So it's blocked. So I just sent it to y'all back. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump to it. So the Negro Act of 1740 was passed in the province of South Carolina during colonial governor William Bull's time in office, in response to the Stono Rebellion in 1730. The Comprehensive Act made it illegal for enslaved Africans to move abroad, assemble in groups, raise food, earn money, and learn to write. Though reading was not prescribed, additionally, owners were permitted to kill rebellious slaves if necessary. The act remained in effect until 1865. What happened? The Emancipation Proclamation. John Belton O'Neill summarized the 1740 South Carolina law in his 1848 written work, The Negro Law of South Carolina, when he stated, a slave may, by the consent of his master, acquire and hold personal property. All thus required is regarded in law as that of the master. Across the South, state Supreme Court supported the position of this law. O'Neill was the only one to express protest against the act, arguing for the property of receiving testimony from enslaved Africans, many of whom had become Christians. Under oath, Negroes, slave or free, will feel the sanctions of an oath with as much force as any of the ignorant classes of white people in a Christian country. So we have to understand how to look into these ancient times and how the jurisdiction of religious government were upheld at the time, because in these modern days they won't let you post it either. Cockblock post Negro Act. Let me see if I take word. There you go. So the link should still kind of pop up. I just took out the word "oh." I don't know why I do that though, but y'all can look at it from there as we go along. The fact is that we have to learn to look into that these jurisdictions in ancient times were considered the jurisdictions of law. These were the customs, the ways of life. And this is where the formation of our law system today actually comes from. They're based on these theocratic structures. Where did these theocratic structures of government come from? They came from us indigenous people. Us and our original way of life. So religion may be considered just the habits and customs of the people, which it actually is. As we mentioned before, you go to customs sometime when you cross the borders, right? When you go to another country, you got to deal with their customs, right? And that's because customs go back to our spirituality and our way of life. So if you understand that we come in here, or if we was in a building, we would have our arms in the background. We would have our, our chants and things like that we do. We read the literature of the prophet, which we've been diving into. We've been getting to. So we have our customs. The prophets say, set up your own temples. Make your own laws and customs that are in conjunction with the laws of the prophet. So if you want to come with a hybrid structure, whether you're teaching the Taoist teachings, etc., in conjunction with the laws of the prophet, because our way of life in ancient creed is the way of peace. Islam was what we were considered as, even if we was not under the guides of Islam. Especially as we mentioned last week, the Orthodox culture of Islam, where we understand and should understand that the Desert Otter is the progenitor of the slave trade, the first and original slave trade. So if we look into the fact that this Negro Act is a response to the Stono Rebellion, also known as the Cato's Conspiracy or Cato's Rebellion, which was a slave revolt that began on September 9th, 1739, in the colony of South Carolina. It was the largest slave rebellion in the southern colonies, with 25 colonists and 35 to 50 Africans were killed at the time. It says the uprising was led by native Africans who were likely from the Central African Kingdom of Congo, as the rebels were Catholic and some spoke Portuguese. So understanding that's who took the extension of the Pale Desert Arab slave trade was the Portuguese. That's who started to kick it off after. And this goes into what we just read with the Treaty of Grenada and the Sundry Free More Act, which they, like I said, changed. I'm glad I got the screenshot so I can go back and look at what it actually looked like, because what it actually stated. But understanding that these rebellions were happening all over the place, because it was only a portion of the country at the time that was dealing with the 13th colony before they started expanding, especially with the Northwest Ordinance, with them not being able to do the slave trade beyond those mountains. So it's good that we kind of go into the actual fundamental laws and things like that bring us back to the modern day and time of why the Negro Act and how it extended throughout the state, because like I said, other colonies adopted it, so therefore other states ended up adopting it. But if you take heed to what was happening at the time, you see that before the prophet, people were getting their manumission through the Sultan Emperor in Morocco. But here, in this day and time, your Morocco is the Mecca in Chicago. Your Holy Land, as the prophet mentioned in the literature, is here in Chicago. As we read the HR 0689, that's coming out of Illinois, where you find Chicago. So I want to dive into that piece of literature from the prophet called "This is Chicago." So we can hear from the prophet himself. The prophet said, all nations of the earth are now being forced to contribute their share in its American life. Some of the nations here are put at a disadvantage supposedly because they happen to have a hue of every other nation of the globe. They have been victims of a peculiar psychology designed to hold them in mental slavery. So long as men permit other nations to furnish them with their food for thought, just so long do they allow their heads to supplant their advisors. What will happen among the Asiatics of the world? What will happen among the Asiatics of the world will first happen in the United States of America, and the first cosmopolitan city of this nation will be in Chicago. This is Chicago, the only city of the land that has all features of this American life engaged in by our people. Aldermen seated in the council of the city, men high in official affairs of the city generally, but there is one Chicago, one temple, one prophet. And if we understand the Religious Corporation Act that came out of Illinois and the Hertz Revised Statutes, which also has the Articles of Confederation in them, and we tie these things in together with what we read in the Dred Scott case, you see that you are put in authority. So you had special interest groups that wanted you not to understand what authority was put in place of the natives of this land. The natives of all land, as the prophet just mentioned. All hues of people come out of us as Moors. So who does that make indigenous to all land? We have to understand the literary authority that the prophet's words have. Like I mentioned earlier, the literary authority that we have, that I have as a Grand Sheik, that our future royal chairman will have as a Grand Sheik. I'm sorry, as a temple adept, as a royal council member. Because it's just like being in, if you ever watch a European Parliament meeting and how the chairman, the speaker of the house, how he's conducting the meeting and making sure they stay within the rules of order. He is the one making sure things stay cordial in the parliamentary meeting and function. And if he has to in place a new rule, then so be it. So things could remain cordial. So understand what these decrees is, and I'm gonna put the link to the bulletins from the temple in the chat, or I'm gonna pin it to the top of the room here, so you guys could look at the bulletin. And specifically, bulletin number 6. If you haven't read the first letter, the first bulletin, which is coming from the temple, coming from me, the letter of redemption, you should go and check that out. You should go and check that out. First bulletin says, listen to reason. Or, well, first we begin all things by using divine love, of course, but it says, listen to reason. Know all men and women by these present, despite the unrelenting effort of the hell-born agents of Satan to keep you blind to who you really are. A seed is sprouted in the west, as I, Nagu Shemsadek, through Asayid Isa Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi, and I am that seed. I am the liberator that has been sent to this confused day and time, known as the revealing. I have come to release your souls and to liberate you from your spiritual and mental bondage. You have now been deprived of your birthright too long now. As the liberator, I hereby reclaim and redeem you from the slave masters and give you back your rightful heritage from Sudan and of the globe. The gifts of that almighty nature has provided me with have allowed me to endure the persecution, slander, and libel against me, for you are redeemed without equity. Therefore I, his elect, Nagu Shemsadek, put forth this call to you all, once lost but now found, seed of our great royal father, Abraham, on up to our heavenly Father of heaven, Anu. Peace and blessings of almighty nature be upon him always. I invite you all to join me in establishing your self-determination as members of the global family and the global village. Although we have had many profound and great teachers, none have stood before the public to be questioned for more than 15 plus years, day in and day out, as Asayid Isa Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi, also known as his honorable elect, or not his honorable elect, but the honorable elect, Dr. Malachi Gabriy'El, who has successfully and honorably answered all questions given. Honorable elect Dr. Malachi Zodok El is not a religious teacher, but a prelate for all nullities. Now, therefore, the first professed nullitist, honorable elect, or his elect, however y'all want to say it, it's all the same. Nagu Shemsadek is the new guide, friend, doctor, big brother, and teacher. I am not merely a child of the Most High, but I am one of his eldest that protects the garden of our global village, whom they call by name Arch Angel Gabriy'El. I am your caliphate. As elected, there is none more qualified to make straight your way to the Creator. Angel of the bottomless pit, let it be remembered always and let it be known. Today is truly a new day and time. So what is the power of these redemption letters? What is the power of a redemption letter from your temple, from your grand sheik? Because this is a redemption letter that extends also from the master teacher into this day and time, so that way we can redeem all our new beings, new beings. All peoples come out of us Nubian Ethiopian Moors. Understand that the papacy supremacy has pretty much come to a halt. I'm sorry about the sirens in the background, y'all. That's going on out here. But understand that the papacy supremacy came to an end. And you can find this out by clicking and reading the bulletins that come from the temple. So what I'm gonna do is post the bulletin number 5, called The End of Papal Supremacy. So y'all can check that out. And those that are coming back listening to the replays, they also can check it out. But before we go into this next section, I want to go ahead and reset the room. With that, welcome to the World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a globally chartered and incorporated temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they will learn to love instead of hate, come and link themselves with the family of nations. So this link at the top here is a little bit longer than that first. I'm not all of that, especially this week. Probably get to it another holy day, but go over it yourself, look into it, because it explains about the ending of the papal supremacy and understanding the Justinian Codex, which takes you before the 1400s, which we see was the time of the Treaty of Granada, and then a couple hundred years later you have the Sundry Moore Act. So you had a lot of things took place during that 1400 to 1700 period, especially with the year 1666 and the things that happened at that time in between that 1400 to 1700 year period. So the Global Freedom Network, which is what Pope Francis is a part of, and you also have the link to our recovery doctrine coming from one of the papacies, not papacies, I'm sorry, papyruses that are also illustrated for us as another religious decree. And the fact that we have a nucratic and global structure means now our religious decrees affect the entire world. So when we talk about helping the global village and investing in ourselves as a global people, and doing these global investment things, this is not just commerce talk that we're having. This is not just conversations of commerce that we're having. These are real. These are real, life on the line situations. These are real divine obligations that we're talking. This is more than just something that we could have the acknowledgement for, and be acknowledged as goodwill ambassadors and things like that. We are actually spiritual ambassadors. We are ambassadors or ethereal ambassadors. We are ambassadors of the spirit world, the spiritual domains and jurisdictions. So, like they say, don't underestimate certain people, because you don't know what their rank is in the spirit realm, right? So now you get to really exercise that authority, and people get to see it from the supernatural into the natural, or the higher dimensions back to the third dimension. And this is what you get to take advantage of once you join into the temple and really get involved with the temple, and take your place in the affairs of men, take your place in the order of things. Because now that we have our resolution for our social norms, which is one of our bulletins as well, and all of the other particular bulletins that we put in place, as we continue to move into a global village structure, the world is moving into a Socratic structure, whether they realize it or not. This is science that we're talking about, and it's not a new science. So we have to be on top of our game, understand the codex that were put in place, going all the way back to the Code of Hammurabi, going all the way back to the codexes of the Torah. If we're being told that we have to follow and tune into the great news, the everlasting gospel, then we have to really look into the things that are a part of actual history. We have to really look into the caliphaship of things. Last week we had some people come in from another another group, another background of not Moors, but brothers and sisters of the Islamic faith. And they was asking us if we follow the divine will of Muhammad Al-Amin. And so if they stuck around to come in this week, they would understand that of course we do. Of course. So much into the fact that we understand that we are the indigenous bloodline and Sicily of the Mohammedan clan. So for you to have clans, you got to have tribes. You got to have the Moorish tribe, which is one of the Muslim tribes during that time, or Israelite tribes during that time. Because from us being Israelites, Midianite, Hamathite, Shemite, etc., we amalgamated ourselves into other tribes as time went on, even Canaanite. We read last week in the Holy Quran Circle 7, chapter 20, I think that was chapter 45 we read, called The Divine Origin of the Asiatic Nation. It's a real short read, so I'll read it again here. So, like, the prophet said in the oral prophecies and sayings, it'll affirm what's being said. Because that National Independence Day called Juneteenth is greatly symbolic of something. And like I said, we're gonna line it up with how the prophet, addressed things with us. Because the prophet, like we just mentioned, read, went over from the prophet that all hues of people come out of us more. Come out of us so-called African Americans. Out of us so-called African. Us Nubian, Ethiopian Moors. So let's read chapter 45 of the Holy Quran, circle 7, because it's just real short, real 7 verses. It says, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all Moorish Americans, etc. The keys of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nation. The Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, the Egyptians, who were the Hamathites and of a direct descendant of Mizraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanite, Hittite, and Moabite of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilian, Argentinians, and Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, and the natives of San Salvador or El Salvador in Central America, etc. All of these are Muslim. The Turks are the true descendants of Hagar, who are the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, beginning from Muhammad I, the founding of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal God Allah. So he just described to us the Sephardim, who they call the Jews. So there's no real distinction between the so-called Jewish people and the Moorish people. Jewish people are actually Moorish people. And like I say, we have a lot of people that get skilled and they learn these things and they go outside, especially our brothers and sisters that learn the law and love the law. They love jurisprudence. But we have to step into our own. We have that independence now. We have that public acknowledgement now of our sovereign theocratic government, as well as these holy instructions that we were given to, to follow by the prophet from, misery. We don't want to keep, misery love company. We don't want to keep the company of misery and low vibrational bullcrap. So that's why we're here in this space with the tones and preferably if we can get some arms, that would have been better. But we got the meditation tone. We got the relaxing tone. We was given the instructions on the efficiency of knowledge. So we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge as a people. And just, understanding the instructions from not being weak, which goes into the lack of knowledge and also roots from being inconsistent, not sticking to your word, being unstable. So that instability, that non-self-sufficiency, non-sustainability, this is what we here to get rid of when we say, that we are here to end world poverty, Sustainable Development Goal Action number 27655. That don't mean we joining in with the plans of other special interest groups of the United Nations, because as some of our people in Africa, they're being taken advantage by certain groups of people in the United Nations. So we don't want to attach ourselves to things such as that. This is why we have our own special agency as the World Leaders Forum that came out of Pakistan, which goes into some of the prophecies that we'll be reading from the Book of Revelations or El's Holy Injiyl. But this is why we coming together as a forum of world leaders, of a global temple of leaders, adepts, ministers, chaplains, etc. All in conjunction as a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to establish a global nucratic society. Now that we have public acknowledgement as a federally independent people, I think we have all the public acknowledgments that we need from state level to federal level. As Moorish people, you have a sovereign theocratic government. You have the Dred Scott decision, as we read what the British government did. They gave the power of the lands and those territories over to the people who are behind the Articles of Confederation. Who are those people? Who are those free people of the Articles of Confederation? That's us. That's us Moorish people. That's us indigenous Native American people. So, y'all got any questions? We're going to leave it in the chat. We're going to open up the floor as we go into the last hour of the temple service and the temple meeting. Any current events we want to talk about, let's bring it to the floor. About to change the link that's pinned up at the top of the room one more time so that way we can go over our holy instructions before the night's over with and making sure that we get everybody enrolled into the temple that comes through, especially those that come back listening to the replays. We do appreciate you. We want to give y'all our extended olive branch and love and light. Let's get into it, y'all. So I just pinned the link for the Civics 101 course at the top of the room so that way we can go over how to get involved with the Moorish America, how easy it is to change your political status from from being considered a uncivilized person, because just because you have that independence don't mean that you're moving in your nationhood. That doesn't mean you're moving under the powers of your nationality. And no, your nationality does not mean that you are immune from doing criminal activity. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean you get to do whatever criminal act and then claim just because you're this, that, and the third sovereign, or this, or you're more, that you're not subject to being a ward of anybody else's estate. So please get this message out to our people that they understand that they are still subject, especially to the criminality and penalty laws of any jurisdiction, especially if it's moral and corrupt. Now, you do have certain immunity from certain things that might be a severability from one jurisdiction to the next, but you're not immune from acts of malum. Definitely not acts of malum or acts of violence, damaging people's property, damaging people in equity. Please understand that. So doesn't matter with all the tricks and all these things. Like I said, we got a lot of our people that are into understanding juristic principles, juristic scholars, and understand jurisprudence real well. It's good to understand that, but that doesn't make you immune. So for us that are gathered here, it's best that we do have, these small intimate meetings. But like we say, it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow, especially as we go into the technological changes that are coming, that are upon us. So we want to get prepared as best as we can, especially, like I said, getting this royal council together and making sure that we get us and our royal affairs together and build, and they shall come. As we just read, the prophet said the Moors, we should live together, townships and Moorish cities. So this is why we have our civic education, which is the study of theoretical, political, and practical aspects of your citizenship, as well as the rights and duties. And this includes the study of civil law, civil code, and the study of your government. And the attention is put on your particular role as a citizen, as a member of the temple. So that includes your civic virtues, which is the customs, the culture, the customs of the temple, the theocratic structure, your indigenous way of life. And we go over this every Sunday. So, we'll be going over this again on Sunday, etching it in. But we really gonna be opening it up for question and answers for things that in the lesson, in the course. And our civic engagement as well, which is coming together here to discuss, like I said, we're gonna open up the floor for current events and things like that. So before we go into this next segment, I want to make sure we don't have anything that we need to discuss as far as current events, stuff like that. But we do, like I said, need to go over our holy instructions and our holy shahada or our nationality procedure before we close out. So, like I said, before we start going in, anybody want to jump into anything as far as what's taking place in today's current events or anything locally that's happening around them that you want to make people aware of, or you just got questions or any contributions, anything like that. The floor is open. Brother Mo, I don't know if you could hear me or if you've been trying to say anything. Your mic not showing up, so if you do try to chime in, it's not being heard. So you might want to jump out quick, come back in. So that way, if you have been chiming in, because it showed that you off the mic, but I don't know if try to chime in or anything like that. So just want to make sure we don't miss anything. But we do have the meditation music now, so that allows us to just open up rooms, especially for our newcomers here. And we also have the Noble Sade. She wants to jump into doing accountability coaching, and I guess this also be a great way to do the sound therapy to set the mood for that for people as well. There you go, Noble. True peace, brother Mo. Happy holiday, Noble. Sound real low over there. I don't know. Do I still sound low, or am I coming through clear?
You are loud and clear, very clear. I don't hear
Mic
the
check.
meditation music anymore, but everything else is clear.
Oh, I hear it on mic, but I guess they're gonna have it in the recording either way. But yeah, if y'all want to make any contribution, real quick, or I jump to the next segment, and I'm gonna get us prepared for us to go over the holy instructions, get involved with the Moorish Temple of America, becoming a part and parcel. But if y'all getting it clear, leave a one in the chat. If y'all getting clarity, I'm sorry, if y'all getting clarity, leave a one in the chat on things. Leave a two in the chat if you don't got clarity, or just unmic and ask questions if you got any. But like I say, the floor is open. Let's talk about current events, things like that. True peace. Somebody saying something? I hear my
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I was
yes, go ahead.
wondering if you could be able to kind of summarize again one more time, since you just said it. But if you could say it again about the whole Dred Scott and what the judge was saying about the status and the change status from that case, and why. Just I'm trying to solidify it in my head, so I can keep going. That makes sense.
Okay, I got you. So the manumission that took place after the Dred Scott case. So you had the people that had their opinions, and a lot of people in the country have been propagating those opinions. But in the modern day commentary that we read over the past couple months about the Dred Scott case, you have the fact that what we read in the Dred Scott case is that that type of thinking was wayward and immoral. And, going into the text of the case, we find out that the land was given over to the free inhabitants of the Articles of Confederation. And as we just read from the Treaty of I think it was the Sun-Dry Free Moor Act. No, the Negro Act. It just mentioned the Moors of the Confederation, just then again. So you have the fact that the Moors, or the free inhabitants of the land, were given the authority that the British, the lands that the British came and captured here in America, were given back over to those free inhabitants of the land, or Moors, as as the British Empire pretty much stepped back from the war that happened between America and Britain and in the colony. So anything that happened after the fact, after that, was up to the interests of the colony and between the natives of the land. So this is where the special interest group issues come into effect, because like we read with the opinions coming from those judges, they was of the opinion that we should keep slavery and enslave the natives of this land, because extending beyond the British Empire and control of things, they were still with the mentality that came about after 1666 and the Papa Bull Intercatera, which is why I put the link up there at the top for the uh, bulletin number 6, World Temple Bulletin number 6, which goes over the ending of Papal supremacy. So, like I said, the British have left. It mentions how the British have left the territories in the hands of those of the Articles of Confederation, and those of the for those free inhabitants. And those free inhabitants are us free Moors, who was free from the guise of slavery, because we are the natives of this land, and pretty much had the land under our estateship and custodianship before the 13 colonies and or the American Union came about. So I hope that gives you clarity. You can leave me a 1 in the chat if so, or you just chime in. Okay. All right. So we don't have any other contributions or anything like that. I'm gonna go into our holy instructions for how to join the Moorish Science Temple of America. So as we know, Friday is the holy day. O ye who knew, when the call is proclaimed to supplication on Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and leave off business and traffic that is best if you but knew. And when prayer is finished, then may ye disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God, and celebrate the praises of God of 10 and without stint, that ye may prosper. So this is coming from the Holy Quran, the El's Holy Quran, not the Circle 7 Holy Quran. And I think this is chapter 40, not chapter 42, I think chapter 52, verse 9 to 10. Gotta double check if that's correct. That's correct. That's the correct chapter. Yeah, I think that's chapter 450. Yeah, so I think that's chapter 52. Yeah, I think that's chapter 52. Make sure we got the correct understanding of these Roman numbers. All right, y'all. So as we understand, temple services and meetings are to be open and closed, and that's promptly according to the Circle 7 and Love, Truth, Peace, Freedom, and Justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is our holy day for all Muslims and peacemakers all over the world. This is according to Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws by the Prophet Noble Ali, which state all temples and subordinate temples are to conduct holy day service every Friday, starting promptly at their respective time and ending promptly at their respective time. All civilians, patrons, denizens, prospects, and ministers are expected to attend the temple for the Friday holy day temple service and meeting. On Fridays, the Moorish American, Moorish Asian, and Moorish African Muslims and peacemakers all come together to supplicate and to illustrate that which Allah has blessed them with. The temple services are open according to divine love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. At no time will templars, adepts, ministers, patrons, or outside congregational guests be allowed to disrupt the holy day service, nor will civilians be admitted under the influence of alcohol or any severe intoxicant. All templars, adepts, and civilians attending the holy day service must have their heads covered with either a turban, fez, or kufi, or spiritual cover. Baseball caps should not be worn in the temple or during the time of the temple. The Sunday school temple service and meetings is mandatory for and all Moorish nationals, templars, and temple denizens must promptly attend the temple service and send their children to the Sunday school gatherings, and the teacher must confirm himself and herself to the temple one-on-one questionnaire, and let every civilian man, woman, and child exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because from out your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation and now the entire global village. According to Act 5 of the additional laws by the Prophet Noble Ali, every subordinate temple should have 2 Sunday gatherings held. The first meeting should be held 1 to 2 hours before the adult service. Children's Sunday school should be conducted by a director of the Children's Sunday School and program. The Sunday school gathering is designed to assist the temple in learning the temple 101 questionnaires and developing an understanding of just what these holy keys mean and how they ought to be applied to our everyday lives. The Divine Constitution and Bylaws, along with the Moorish prayer, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Qur'aan, and the civic lessons of the Holy Temple of Moorish Science are also subject of major concern for the apprentice who is trying to complete his or her mandatory requirement for pronouncing their temple civilianship and global nationality. All lessons for the adult Sunday school gathering must be prepared by a Grand Sheik, a divine minister, or an assistant Grand Sheik. Lessons called by us novite additions may be submitted to the apprentice for completion and returned to the temple. Once the lessons are completed and graded, they must be placed in the active members' temple district file. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is a wonderful opportunity to study the liturgy teachings of the Prophet. No civilian is to become disruptive during the Sunday meeting. All templars must bring paper and pen to the temple service and meeting, along with the basic temple literature and assignment. No templars or patron is to eat food or other snacks during the temple service or meeting, but water is permitted. All templars must attend their Sunday temple service and meetings as diligently as they attend their holy day temple service and meeting. Both were called off for by the Prophet Noble Ali and is required as a matter of temple law. According to the Divine Constitution, Act 7 in part, all templars must promptly attend their temple services and meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and now also Moorish Science Temple of Africa, in Moorish Science Temple of Asia and adjoining world islands on behalf of all indigenous people. For membership, any heads of temple of all temple jurisdictions are not to charge for naturalization or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by and through the prophet. Those who contribute to any of the proceedings are not Moors, civilians, or patrons, but robbers. Temple nationality and membership in the Holy Temple's vast estate, or what we call a public beneficiary trust, sisters and brothers, kin and kinfolk, is free, not only here, but all over the world. All kin and kinfolk desiring to become a civilian of a subordinate temple must read the messages from the temple secretary and download the application for naturalization, which can also be found on our website, theholytemples.org. The Secretary of the Temple's jurisdiction will help all newcomers by explaining the naturalization affidavit and application for membership in the Temple's vast estate, or, like I said, what we call a public beneficiary trust, to the new prospective civilians of the Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust, and arranging for him and her to be consulted by the Royal Council of said temple or subordinate temple. The Royal Chairman or woman will set the date for the new temple prospect to be interviewed by the Royal Council. The new temple court civilian, upon completion of the Royal Council consultation at the new Sunday newcomers gathering or Sunday school gathering on Sunday, the new templars will proclaim their temple nationality at the next upcoming Holy Day temple gathering. After the new civilian prospect proclaims his or her nationality, they will be given the mandatory requirements necessary to earn their free national name and royal title of nobility as a true American royal. These requirements are as follows, and in accordance with chapter 47 of the Moorish Circle 7 Holy Qur'an, called Egypt the capital dominion empire of Africa, the Moorish prayer, chapter 25 of the Moorish Qur'an, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation, including the 101 Qur'an question Asian Africans, the divine constitution and bylaws, the additional laws, and the precepts, statutes, and ordinances from El's Holy Torah, El's Holy Injiyl, and El's Qur'an, the Holy Tabernacle Family Guide, and also the Holy Tablet through our Civics 101 course in the Global Interdependent School District and Sacred Halls of Learning that we call New University for everyone of the global village. Once a new civilian or template has learned these additions or lessons verbatim or to the best of their ability, he or she will be interviewed by the Temple's Royal Council as the chaplaincy to determine if the new civilian is qualified to represent himself or herself as a faithful Moorish American, Moorish African, and Moorish Asian Muslim, or any indigenous peacemaker, and communicated to the ignorant for their instructions, and communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. Once the new civilian or template has cleared the mandatory requirements with the Royal Council, he or she will be naturalized by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister of the said subordinate temple. So that is the basic holy instructions for getting involved with the Moorish America. And we'll continue on with going over the proclamation, procedure, and the pronouncement of one's nationality, which will be held on Holy Day for all civilians, denizens, templars, peacemakers, or Muslims all over the world. And during the ceremony, the new civilian or templars will be ordained an El Bey or Day and given his or her royal peerage title of King, Honorable, Lady, Noble, Nin, Naya, Prince, Princess by a Grand Sheik and or Divine Minister, and also receive his or her nationality card and button from the Divine Minister of the Grand Major Temple. Upon conclusion of the nationality proclamation, the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister will have the civilian templates and temple prospects stand while he or she reads the authority of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It is by virtue of the Religious Corporation Act document that can be found in her by statute that gives the Moorish Science Temple of America, Asia, and Africa the authority to restore the nationality and birthrights of the lost Asiatics of America, Africa, and all world islands, and give them the title to their vast estate and their heritage. The Grand Sheik and or Divine Minister is to read from the card and have the new national state Allah is God and Noble Ali, the Prophet, and I am Moorish American, African, or Asian, and or world islander. This is our Moorish clarification of faith or Shahada and our national pledge of allegiance. The new civilian or templars free national name should then be added to the temple's books of life as they enroll in the Civics 101 course and our World Civic Club that you have the opportunity to join when you join and enroll in the Civics 101 course. So that allows people in the school to communicate and just talk about civics. So the nationality ceremony should be conducted by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister or any other Divine Minister, so designated by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister in his or her time of absence, and most notably by the Assistant Grand Sheik and Divine Minister. The nationality card and naturalization application must be signed bearing the name and title of the Grand Sheik or Divine Minister who issued the application and card and the date of its issuance. The Religious Corporation Act has deemed the Global Interdependent School District and the Incorporated and Chartered Moorish Science Temple of America, Africa, and Asia as a religious trust and theocratic government established in 1928 on August 20th. This religious trust is the true global trusteeship system for the Holy Family of Nations, forming the global nucleus. So we have our instructions getting involved with the temple. Like I said, we go over these holy instructions every week, and we go over the nationality procedure every week. So all of the paperwork status, paper pushing, change of status people, this is how you do it, and you're hearing it firsthand on the proper instructions, the actual holy instructions coming from the prophet himself. So, all the other things that we hear about, you know, get your birth certificate authenticated and do this, do that. All these third party credit, all these things that get mixed up with us as Moorish Americans. We are not terrorists, and we do not participate in all the things that most of these groups are splinter, just outside congregational guests in the temple are really trying to push on us as a theocratic or religious government of people, and understand that if we have to take up our swords, it's only to defend ourselves and not to bring harm to others and to be injurious and cause not just equitable damage but physical damage and malum. So with that, I'm gonna jump right back into some of the literature on the prophet that we can lead us on in close. But understand that we went through the political slavery. We've been there. You have the federal acknowledgement of the emancipation. You have the acknowledgement of the manumission, HR 0689. So I'm gonna read some of the literature from the prophet, and this particular piece of literature is called Political Slavery. And the prophet stated, anytime a man or woman fails, or refuses to cast a sacred ballot at the polls, they separate themselves from all rights of an American citizen. For surely this is the one connecting medium for a citizen to his nation. They become no more than belated beasts of burden. There are reasons why certain classes, who are more or less independent, take no part in politics, since they say they get nothing out of such in the way of material gain. This is no less than a political slave, since they refuse to voice their sentiments at the poll. Another form of political slavery, which is probably more prevalent among the less independent classes, is that of being forced into one of the major parties, and there bribed, coerced, and otherwise forced to vote the wishes of someone else, regardless of their own mind. Before there can be general relief for economic good of all forms of political slavery must be abolished, and every citizen must take his part in the affairs of the nation. So what was the prophet saying and stating right here? That just like our divine minister Kenneth L, we should be involved in getting into politics. Especially all Moorish leaders, all Moorish royal council members, y'all are politicians. This is why I say we are here to serve. Every week, we here to serve. We here to do work. We here to be a servant to our people. Especially with teaching them about commerce. The best place to come and learn about a trust. Because we have what's considered a religious trust. So like I said, we're gonna need people that have the proper mindset, not to just be consultants and coaches, but to set up firms, to set up business companies that operate as institutions and trust, stewards and fiduciaries for our body of people. So that means we're gonna need to set up Moorish banks, Moorish credit union, Moorish family offices, Moorish venture capital companies, Moorish hedge fund companies, advisory firms. Don't matter what you do, but get into the industry. We need Moorish lawyers. But who is going out and saying these things to our people and making it make some type of practical sense? Remember, we done the Holy Day lecture and sermon on practicality. Spirituality still has to have some form of practicality. There's no spirituality without practicality, and technically there's no practicality without spirituality, right? But we have to make it make sense to our people. We are here to serve. We're here to do work. Especially, like I said, with getting us a future royal chairman, a royal governor, who's going to govern the temple as we get things done. Much love and honors to Brother Rahim, Brother Mo Life over there. We working on some things for commerce for the community. For us to bring in, our brothers and sisters, a merchant network, utilizing our own currency as Moorish America. We have our own sovereign theocratic currency. We have the documentation, which I'm actually going to put up. I'm thinking about putting it up on the website. So, that way, the legal documents could be publicly acknowledged. So, as we went over, please understand the power behind the actual religious decrees, like I mentioned earlier, that not just come from me, but come from the temple, that come from us as Moorish America. Who is the Grand Major Temple? What is the Grand Major Temple? What is the Grand Temple? That's all temples as one temple. So when we start acknowledging each other all as one temple, we can really get to the meat and potatoes of where we're trying to get to. We start acknowledging one temple, one prophet, we can really get to the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to get to. So understanding that work has been done for us to have our own political party. We didn't have much traction pushing it forward, but it's still established. We still have the Nucratic World Committee. We still have the Nucratic political party. We have a FEC number with the Federal Electoral Commission. So that means we got a responsibility, like the prophet say, to get out there and to cast our vote and to vote our people into the local aldermen, to the local city councilmen. And it should be some Moors sitting on these city councils. It should be some of that going on in the marketing and in our discussion. We need marketing firms. We need all different types of commerce taking place. And it's really going to take off in the practical sense. Like I said, as we move forward with these technological advancements that we'll be having. But I wanted to say that part, the political slavery literature for the last, because this is why we went into the Juneteenth thing, because we really have to go into each piece of this onion and peel it back and really go into detail piece by piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, and how one thing connects to the other, which it truly does. And like we mentioned before here, honest to the master teacher gave us 30-40 years of question and answer. 30-40 years of question and answer about all the religious questions that people have. We're not here to get into those religious questions. We're here to get into the spiritual meat and potatoes now. Because once we continue to go over the fundamentals here, you know, we're going to be telling people, well, go back and listen to this replay number such and such. And like I said, we got to get these replays on YouTube. So I will be working on, getting these sermons on YouTube as well. So that way people could go and, listen to it. And we create, content for our people and things that we capitalize off of too. Because as a temple, we started to get more views and people started to watch. Of course, they're gonna start paying us for the content. So, that also might require us to start opening up the temple room even more and putting that on YouTube too. So that way people could listen in. And that way we'll reach more people, especially with putting out, a structure, because our people, we do operate in monkey see, monkey do. But nonetheless, the point is for adoption of, what other temples do, and building those relationships, reaching out to other temples. Because understanding that it's one temple, one prophet. And if we work together, especially in forms of commerce and being able to create a free national standard amongst us as a people, we will not go into this as a broken up or, a piece of a nation. We want to go into this thing whole and wholesome. We want to go into this and lead our people into this with the right mind and the right understanding. But it's going to take for some of us to break away from the norm. It's going to take some of us to break away from these paradigms that are in place right now. That has to do with keeping us in a low vibrational state, that keep us, into everything that defines the lower self. So we're going to have a change of paradigm, especially if we're talking about creating cities. Especially with creating cities. So, like I said last week, I'm going to start opening us up for the El's Holy Qur'an. And then on Sundays, we're going to start getting to we're going to start getting into El's Injiyl Sunday, because that's what's proper. So, like I said, I'm not sure where we left off in the El's Holy Qur'an. When we was reading it on Fridays, I'm gonna have to, like I said, go back. I'll probably do that tonight. But I will be reading a paragraph here from the El's Holy Qur'an and what we have in place as far as, being able to have a translation coming from someone who is Moorish, who does have the same, understanding of the communication that we as Moorish people speak, and, are able to put it into terms that we will understand, and, actually have a translation that is directly for Moorish American people. So I'm going to reread this introduction here from the master teacher, so that way, we just have a recollection of what we're getting into with the El's Holy Qur'an. So the master teacher says, the first thing I would like to say is that this Quran in Arabic, or Quran in English, is not being translated for any Muslim sect. The sole purpose of this translation is to convey, as close as possible, exactly what the Quran says, for those of the Holy Tabernacle Ministry, and who it is talking about, when and where, to get a clear picture of what this 14-year-old tech was saying. Many will be disturbed by the fact that all previous translators translated the Quran for Muslims, when in fact, that creates a bias, one-sided opinion, which affects a proper translation. If one is a Muslim and attempts to translate the holy books of the Muslim, he or she will tend not to see contradictions, mistakes, inconsistencies, historical errors, and the like. One of the best shields for blocking the intellect was a system called tajweed. Some say tartil. It is a form of recitation by using chanting and marking throughout the text, or simply rhythm and music, while stating it's not music, when in actuality, chanting the Torah, 5 books of Moses, Aaron, and Joshua, Zabuwr, Psalms of David, Injiyl, Gospel of Jesus, and the Qur'an of Muhammad, rhythmically is a form of singing. There are a host of singers such as David Bowie, who is European, Stevie Wonder, a Nubian American, Aretha Franklin, Negro, Barbara Streisand, Jewish American, Willie Nelson, Anglo American, and Julio Eligas, who is Spanish, Kutum, Anglo-Egyptian, Ahmad Hassan, who is Arabic, Yasal Andur, who is a Sinhalese African, and Baba Olatajuni, I keep saying, I'm butchering that one. It's Baba Olatunji, who is Nigerian African. They all sing differently. However, they all sing the same words and tell the same story. In Al-Islam, there are a host of chanters such as Sheik Abdel Basit, Sheik Sharari, Sheik Talalawi, Sheik Al-Hasari, and Sheik Al-Azhar. They all sing stories from the Quran. If they can get you to listen to Sheik Abdel Basit, for instance, a world-renowned chanter who sings the Quran beautifully, if they can convince you to convince yourself that while you're listening to music, it's not music, then they can convince you of anything pertaining to this book. The creation of grammar, which gave birth to what's called Arabic Fusha, classical Arabic, did not exist in the original Quran. There were no dots and the like, with the classical Arabic replacing the Quraysh dialect. The true meanings were lost, which created room for a massive amount of interpretations. The system of tajweed only weakened the ability to get a clear meaning of the Quran. And so-called scholars removed certain letters, adding certain markings, extended certain sounds, and carried sounds over, and ignoring words such as El for deity, being ignored for utter, fire. When using a system in grammar called sun letters and moon letters, where certain marks such as wasals, sharas, and or sukans give you the right to ignore what you claim Allah revealed to the Prophet Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin, letter by letter. In fact, the word El has a meaning in the language that preceded the Quran, that is the Hebrew Torah, the name for the source, simply El. It was being ignored and replaced when using tajweed with having the meaning. Then they used nir or nir, also from nar, meaning fire in Arabic. Fire also said look, Bismillah Rahim Nir Rahim, or they write it Bismillah Rahim Rahman Rahim. In both cases, it's wrong. They remove the L with trick grammar. It should be Basim Allah Rahman Rahim. These demonic strategies were created to widen the gap between the children of Abraham, who all spoke Semitic dialects of one language called cuneiform. Cuneiform was the language of the elders. Cuneiform was a spoken as well as written language. From this language, came Adamic, which later became the languages Ashuric, Soretic, and Aramic. In Genesis 1:1 or 6:7, the whole earth was one language first. Now, if you read closely, you will see in verse 6, God separated himself or herself from the planet Earth by saying, and they all have one language. If you say that they all have one language, you are saying that you do not speak that language in which is being spoken, because you just excluded yourself by saying they. Then in verse 7, God goes on to say, confound their language. The word confound is belal. In the Aramic Hebrew, in the Aramic Hebrew, it means to mingle, confuse, or to confound. This is making it very clear that whatever the people of earth were speaking, it was not being spoken in heaven, where God lived. If it were the language that God was speaking, then he would have had said our language. However, it says there, which means that God was speaking something else other than their language. Do you understand? If God came down to the planet Earth and confounded their language of the planet Earth, that would mean that God was communicating differently when a language is broken up. It is broken up into different tongues, which are called dialects. Semitic is actually the name of all the languages that stemmed from Shem, who was one of the triplets of Utnapishtim, or Noah, and Naaman, from Genesis 5:32. From Ashur, the second son of Shem, and Phaatan, Genesis 10:22, came the language Ashuric. Ashur means level plain and is a city in Assyria. From Ashuric came the dialect Soretic. So I'm gonna stop right there. I don't wanna keep diving on in. Come back to that next week. Like I said, we're gonna get into reading else of the Quran, but I wanted us to have a base point for what we gonna jump into when we come back next week. And like I said, we're gonna really get into the spiritual portions of these lessons and of these scriptures, and really get an understanding of what the messages is that are within them. So when you have like I said, a translation that is meant directly for us as Moorish people to understand, we can really get to meat and potatoes. But next holy day, or maybe even this Sunday, we will be getting into the Sun-Dry-Free More Act and actually reading into it actually more, and the Treaty of Grenada, and going over those treaties again, because we just went over today the new holiday, the new federally acknowledged holiday. So with that, let's make sure that we come back, listen to the replays, especially for studious purposes, because we have to be aware of the information that is being given to us as a people. So we take full understanding of the plight and of the divine messages that are coming through us, and the opportunities that we can now benefit from as a nation of people. And we have our independence. So if we want to not continue on with political slavery and really exercise that independence, we have to get out and be politically active. We have to get out there and really take action politically, and that's only going to come by us really learning this information that's available to us now, and somebody has to go over. So this is why we having the discussion about the Juneteenth holiday, which is now a federal holiday, and being able to acknowledge what it actually means, what is the origin of it, General Order Number 3 that was coming from the Emancipation Proclamation, giving the notice of the freedom, the announcement of the freedom. So with that, you also have the manumission, which is the actual freedom procedure. And you do that by taking your baptism, being born again, by seek ye first the kingdom, as the prophet said. So let's get into some of this closing literature from the prophet. Because we really gotta, touch deep, harness in on, the messages that the prophet had. As as we close, we're gonna get into the warnings. But the prophet stated this to the members of the temple. The prophet said, Islam, this is the instructions from your prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deed that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Ali, and that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sin. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they're trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. True peace, your prophet, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So, prophet knew what was going to take place in this day and time. Like you said, the prophet said the Moors are going to come into their own after the year 2000. So we coming into our own. Like I mentioned, we need marketing, Moorish marketing firms. They got the European, they got the European Union, they got the European Economic Community. They got all these different things. As Europeans, they got all these different things as Jewish people. So when is the Moorish Americans, the original Jews, the original Sephardims, is going to step up and take up their political independence? I heard a quote just the other day from old quote that we know of that came from one of the leaders of Grenada, and how America was afraid of the people of Grenada because they understand English as well as other languages, Spanish, Portuguese, and other things like that. So it is our time to wake up the liberation. It is our time to get out what the true redemption process is about, which is in the scriptures. Like it says in the book of Matthew, you shall be redeemed without equity. This is your redemption. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you, as the prophets say. So this is the message from the prophet to the royal council, to all the governors, grand sheiks, and head officials of temple. The prophet say all governors and grand sheiks and head officials that guide anybody of Moors, of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he or she must be of good moral standard and a heart of love, and their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. They must not be under the influence of intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that will terminate to become detrimental to the organization. It must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoing. They must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words, nor do any profane language in the mildest form to any other individual, because a leader without influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Qur'an and the divine constitution that is handed down unto you by I, the prophet. No finance business is to be opened with any group of members of any temple by the governor or grand sheik or whosoever in charge without the consultation of I, the prophet. All uplifting funds, books ought to be open. Uplifting funds and books ought to be issued only through I, the prophet, because the money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount of from 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues also to the supporting of each said temple and its domestic work. No finance books are to be served in any temple except by the prophet. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the prophet, and if any leader or head of any temples fail to obey these laws, embezzlement is discharged and is subject to enforcement of the law by the grand body. And a penalty may be a fine or a removal from office or placed under very heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the prophet Noble Drew Ali. So no finance or any of these things is to be put in place without consulting the prophet by way of spirit. So basically the prophet is telling you to consult your ancestors before you do anything financially. So all of the books that we issue by the prophet, that got to be done through the temple and through the prophet. Especially any books that come from the prophet. And the emergency fund and things like that. That's why we have the link that's pinned up there at the top of the room. You can join the chaplaincy, the patronship, the patronage. It's less than a coffee. It's $1. You want to do that in conjunction with clicking the link that we had up earlier. So you got to go back and listen to the replays to get the Civics 101 link. For those that y'all are already here, y'all should have that already. But those that are listening to the replays, you want to come back and click that Civics 101 link and enroll into the temple, become an official member. Come back, on Sunday, ask questions, make sure you get your work done during that week as much as you can, and be prepared for Holy Day that next week so you can proclaim your nationality and go through the procedure. So the prophet, let it be known that, in his words, he says, our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and the American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting for all of humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. But I have suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and to apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. That's why I'm calling upon all true national citizens to help me morally and financially in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name, without a descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American and foreign sympathizers, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So, as the prophet said, we should be living a life accordingly, according to these past two literatures. We should be living a life accordingly how the prophet was living. So the prophet was out here, spiritually guiding, helping. He also helped, created medicines and things like that. The prophet was financially sound. So, this is why we want to have that cooperative spirit. This is why we want to get into, having firms and, especially with consulting firms and marketing firms and, other things that we need to have, especially in the economic arena, and really get, you know, get our message out there as Moorish Americans for our people. Whether, like the prophet said, some of the best people, some of the best Moors are still in, some of his best Moors are still in the church. So it don't matter if they're in the church, because when a Moor step in the church, it become a temple. So all of them pastors, them heads temples. We gotta let it be known how we see each other. That we don't see each other no indifferent. That's why it says God Allah. Because whether we say God or whether we say Allah, we're talking about the source. Even as we just read from the statements from the master teacher, El is making reference to the source, the divine creator, the divine source. So there is no indifferentiation between Allah and Theos, God, or whoever else, because as we say, what we accept as fact, you can't take away from the all, because where would you get it? The all in all. So I want to leave this to those that are, looking for a temple home, especially those Moors that do not have a temple home, that are looking to learn more about the Moorish Science Temple of America. And you so happen to stumble across this replay and stumble across this room, and you want to get involved. You have a temple home here. You have a temple space here. This is branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America, called the World Temple. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are chartered and incorporated, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. So you need a home, just click that link that's probably pinned up there from the earlier part of the replay. Got to go back and listen to that. Scroll back, click that link that says holytemples.org. Just go to holytemples.org, and you can get involved, whether it's joining the Facebook group, joining the temple network that we have, or becoming a member here on Clubhouse. Click by clicking that great block of words at the top that says World Temple and becoming a member. We have 200 plus members here. We on our way to 300. We got at least 500 something people in the temple network. We got 500 people, close to 500 people in the Facebook group on Facebook. And we got private chat on Instagram, as well as on Telegram and Facebook. So you can be a guest member, participate in whatever capacity on whatever social media platform, be on all the major social media platforms that you can join us on, and come get involved with the family of nations. Come link yourself with the family of nations. And with that, I'm gonna leave a message from the prophet. The prophet say, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine movement. Then you will have power to redeem your race, because you know who you are and your forefathers were. Because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is an open field to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. So there we go again. Third time's a charm. So before we go into the closing out for today, Just want to make sure anybody got any last contributions. I'm gonna open it up one more last time before we close out with prayer. But I'm gonna read these. I'm gonna read over these divine warnings from the prophet. We'll go over these divine warnings from the prophet one more time before we actually close out and get any final remarks about today's holy day. But I hope y'all enjoyed y'all holy day. I want to give honors to the divine source. I want to give honors to the prophet, of course. Just had a birthday last week. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Honorable Mark Garvey. I want to give honors to all the leaders that came after the prophet. Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to give honors to Brother C.M. Bey. I want to give honors to Brother Hakeem Bey of the Moorish paradigm. I want to give honors to the master teacher. So, let's wake it up, y'all. This is why we're here. We're here to work together. We're here to bring people in and, really set the example of what it's like to really get the people out, get the information out to the people, And, like I said, last holy day or a couple holy days back, we got to take our education seriously. We got to take our education seriously. And, we're here for edification of the temple. We ain't just here to be religious fanatics and, caught up in praise and worship. We're here to really open up those spiritual centers. We're here to really tap into those spiritual powers. Like I said, we're gonna be traveling as a royal family. We're gonna be traveling as a royal council. Understand, your branch temple becomes your family. You get the chance to establish, your royal family through the royal court. So we get to make this better. I want to give honors to y'all that's in the space. I want to make sure I don't forget y'all. True peace to thank you, Noble Sade, Majesty. And, understand it's our time, y'all. Everything is coming into the Moorish favor, especially economic. We got all the power that we need. We need to be, linking up with Moors, whatever their background is. Y'all know we got the resources here with the Noon Project. Other temples don't got access. We got, our unique thing. More of our people here into spiritual healing, sound bathing, water therapy, lithomancy, crystals and the stones, and solarmancy with the fiery words that proceed from the mouth of from the L's and Bays with all their wills and ways. So we got a job at hand, we got a task at hand, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into these warnings so we can close out at a more proper time today. So the prophet says, for all I'm sorry, went over that already. The prophet says, I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work in their homes or on the street. We're for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We're for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deed. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. True peace, Noble Drew Ali. So the prophet gave us that warning, y'all, that we got to stick to the principle. We You're talking about a ancestor. Prophet is also a part of the ancestor. You know, going all the way back to your Nefertiti's and your Osirises and your Abrahams and your Sets and you know your your Moabs and uh your Shemeshes and all these different great leaders that came about. You know, whether it's allegorical portions about actual leaders that we had throughout time. You know, and uh, you know the history of them in its actuality. But you know, we want to acknowledge that. You know, we pay it forward with being in tune with spirit, like the prophet in the literature. So let's get into this last message from the prophet that the prophet wants us to proclaim at every temple service meeting. Islam. The prophet say, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all of these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting fund. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. This is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Joali, Islam. So, with that, y'all, anybody want to say any last remarks, any last contributions before I go into tonight's prayer and close us out? Don't be shy, don't be afraid. Nobody gonna bite you. All right. We don't got no. I want to give y'all some time to come to the mic. Y'all trying to get back to the mic. Uh,
True peace, true peace.
true peace, noble. True peace. Peace to the God. Got any last contributions or anything you want to share?
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting to know that Juneteenth is federally recognized now, and all the things that it represents for us as far as to show our freedoms and all that here on the land. Um, that was all I wanted to just comment on that. And I liked also the information that was put out there as far as the theocratic government. The theocratic government is sovereign, not individual persons that are sovereign. So we can understand what the difference is and have clear vision with that. And I just want to say happy holiday to everyone. High honors and much gratitude. The highest honors and much gratitude. And with that, I yield.
Um, peace, peace. We are a democratic theocracy. So, in our particular temple, we have our political parties, you know, put in place. We have the foundational things that the prophet offer. You know, we have the treasury. You know, we have all these things that the prophet wanted us to place. Without a treasury, we are nothing. So a treasury, a grand body without a treasury, what are we as a people? So, you know, we still here today. We like I said, we getting the knowledge that's needed to be attained. Um, you know, we learning how to put together a actual community, and you know, we need to keep these websites up. We need to keep things up, and that's that don't just fall on the grand sheik. That falls on the people in the temple. So this is why it's best that we create, commerce, things like that. Because it's one thing, like I say, to have a trust, somebody to go over trust, but it's another for you to have an institution and a community and a body of people that you could, come to, especially a marketplace that can take up stewardship and fiduciary work that's needed as a trustee. So with that, please understand we gotta, like I said, go out there in the highways and byways and propagate the faith, establish these things that we need to establish, and continue on with the great work that we're doing. Like I said, me and brother Honorable Raheem Muhammad is doing some things that is mind blowing for the community, and we'll pretty much be announcing it when the time is ready. About what we actually done, but other stuff that's taking place in the background. Get involved. We here. The Noon Project is active. We still active. Even if some of our websites, change, shift. We got to keep this stuff up. We need buildings. We want to get temples. We want to build cities. We know what our divine mission goal is. We've done a lot of work. We need to reactivate the political party, get people politically active. With that, come link yourself with the family of nation. True peace, y'all. Anybody want to make any last contribution? If not, I'm about to go into prayer and I'm about to close us out for the night.
You mentioned that the temple needs a treasurer, right? I guess that would be someone who's coming from an accountant background.
Yeah, we do have the treasury, the treasurer. We have the treasury and the treasurer. We need other positions in the royal council field more so. So we do have the temple treasurer, but we're gonna need an active treasurer in the temple. Um, the treasurer that we have now is is not really available to come into the meetings, anything like that. So we can't put someone, assistant treasurer in his place, a secretary of treasury place. So and that would be someone that's skilled count things like that, but John.
Okay. God, I keep every time you mention it, I keep thinking of a buddy I grew up with, and he kind of went that route. But we're still kind of connected. We don't talk much because when we do talk, it's usually about some deep subjects. So I was thinking about bringing it up to him. He actually went to Morocco when we were in high school, like right after high school. He actually traveled over there, so I think he has an interest in all this stuff. So I'm gonna get a hold of him and start filling him in. Thank you.
Yeah, bring them into the temple. Let them listen to the replays that we got here. And like I said, especially for those Moors from all backgrounds, from all shades, they need a temple home. They got one here, Branch Temple number 24, Global Branch Temple of the Moorish Sons Temple of America. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close us out. Y'all know how I go: 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, facing east, feet at a 45-degree angle. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Zabuwr. Amen. With that, y'all have a good holy day, good Friday evening. Enjoy the rest of the evening with your families and friends. Much honor to y'all. Thank y'all for stopping through and enjoying this time with me. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all are here with me. And for those that'll be listening to the replays, go back and listen to everything. Everything. Come get caught up with what we got going on. We're trying to make sure that our people have the fundamental knowledge and information that they need to have as a people. And with that, y'all, we're gonna call it a night. Much love, much gratitude. Thank you, y'all that came through. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Happy holiday, more. True peace. Islam. Shalom. Agatep.